You ever felt like you're living in a war zone because your house is so messy? Or thought it might be easier to set it on fire than try to relax in it? Look, I get it. Sometimes having a pristine house is just not in the cards. But that doesn't mean your mental health should suffer for it. I'm going to share with you 5 strategies that I use when my house gets a little out of hand to help me find peace, and hopefully they'll help you too. Before we get into the tips, I just want to say that there are so many reasons that your home could get messy. And I'm not here to judge why it's happening, because really it happens to most people I know. We go through seasons where we just aren't feeling well, or we're super busy, or there's so many reasons. But I do think it's important that we find ways to feel calm and to feel peace and to feel like we're on the right track, even when our homes are a mess. So with that said, let's get into tip number 1. The first suggestion that I have, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling a little chaotic, to really ground yourself is to begin or strengthen your gratitude practice. There are several ways to do this. I like to tell Heavenly Father in my prayers the things that I'm grateful for. I also think that writing them down is extremely beneficial, and sometimes telling somebody else or sitting there and just really tuning into yourself as you think about those things that you are grateful for. Now, when we have a messy house, one of my favorite things to do with this practice is to look at the messes and think of reasons that I am grateful for those messes. And for example, I might be grateful that I have what feels like 50 loads of laundry to do a day, because that means that I have a large family. I can be grateful that I have a sink full of dishes, because it means that I have people to share food with, or I have good food to eat. And so if you can think about reasons that you're grateful for specific messes, I find that it's really helpful. And sometimes I do that as I'm cleaning to really kind of help me get in a good mood while I'm cleaning. I also like to sometimes find a fun notebook and some fun colored pens, and I'll either write a full sentence, or I'll write the thing that I'm grateful for on one side in a column and the reasons that I'm grateful for it on the other side. And I find that it really helps to ground me and help me to feel positive emotions about my messy home instead of the toxic ones that we're trying to avoid. My second suggestion is to add elements to your spaces that bring you happiness and joy, that you love to look at. No matter what, whether your house is messy or whether your house is clean, they're still beautiful. Examples would be greenery is a really good one. Adding live elements to your home really help to lighten and brighten the mood. Other great things to add are artwork that you enjoy. Family pictures is a great one. A really big one would be light. So if you have windows, try to keep them open to let that sunshine in, and try to turn on the lights during the day. It can really brighten your home. Another thing I like to do is turn on some really peaceful music. I love some of the playlists on YouTube where they have pretty artwork that they'll shuffle through as they shuffle through classical music. And I find that that really helps me to feel relaxed, and I love what it does to the environment. That being said though, turning off any distracting sounds and distracting screens, anything stimulating, you might want to turn off to help you to feel a little more relaxed. So I'll let you decide if music helps you or not. But I like to turn on music because it helps to calm down not only myself but my family as well. I also, just little things, I like to light a candle. It's just a little thing that brings joy. And sometimes I'll use aromatherapy as well, use some essential oils, or even just like rub herbs on my fingers and smell them. Or use like a simmering pot if you're not comfortable using oils in your home. And I find that that's a really comforting thing to have, is some yummy smells. Another tip I have, it has to do with our mindset. I think it's so important that we set the intention that we want to feel peace, that we want to feel calm, and that we are safe to do that even though our house is a little chaotic around us, that inside we can feel that peace and calm. There are many different things that we can do that help with this mindset. The first one is that we can make sure that we're giving ourselves some grace. I think that we often expect too much of ourselves. We have this big long list of things that we want to do and to be good at, and having a clean home is often on that list. But when our lists get too big, or we say it has to be pristine all the time, that's just a little too much for most people. And I think it's important that we love ourselves and give ourselves the grace that we need to understand that maybe those expectations are too high, or maybe we just can't reach them every day, and that's okay. I also think that it's important to separate your mess from your home. You can look at your house and see all the mess inside and say, this is my home, it's messy. But there are so many more things that make your house a home than how it looks. And I think it's important to remember what those things are, and having a clean home is really nice and does add to the peace that typically you feel in your home. Like I said though, that's not always in the cards. So we have to make sure that we are prioritizing the things that make a home that are the most important. For me, that's spending time with my children and making sure that they feel loved and safe. And all of those things can happen with a messy house. Another thing is to make sure that you're not identifying yourself with the mess. Your messy house doesn't say whether or not you're a good person or a bad person, or an efficient person or an organized person. It just means that for some reason or another you've got a mess right now, and that's okay. And it's so easy to get caught in the trap of, this is who I am. I can't get on top of the mess. I can't get control of anything else in my life either. I'm just a mess myself. And that's just not true. So I think it's important to separate the mess from your identity and not to identify yourself with it. And on that note, I think that it's important that we remember where our self-worth comes from. Our self-worth doesn't come from what we accomplish, how good we are at things. It comes from being a human on the earth. It comes from being a child of God. And no matter what your life situation is, you are of immense value. And it's important to remember that, and it can help us not to identify with our messy house or with anything else that is going on in our life. And then the last thing is to make sure that you're not comparing yourself with other people. Sometimes we look at our house and it's so messy, and we can think of every house that we've ever gone to and how everybody else is so much better at keeping their home clean than we are, and they probably think that we're just awful for having a messy house or whatever, and really it's not true. I mean, how often do you clean your house before you have company over? And they're doing the same thing most of the time. And some people can keep it clean, and like I said, that's their season in their life. And we need to be careful that we're not judging their best with our worst, or really comparing ourselves at all, because it's not our business to, and really it doesn't matter. Okay, my next suggestion is one that has helped me so much, and that is to have a plan. Make a list every day of the things that you want to tackle in your home. You can make that list as small or as big as you need to. You might be in the season of your life where you can't devote a lot of time to your home, so just write out the most important things that you'd like to get done every day. And then as you can, make the list bigger so that you're able to tackle more projects and make your home really feel nice and calm, and really get to the point where you can feel like you have a clean home. But if my home is messy and I have a plan, I can tell my brain, okay, we don't need to worry about this because this is going to happen on Tuesday. This is going to happen on Wednesday. I'm going to tackle that project or that mess on Thursday. And then I feel safe to focus my attention on where it needs to focus. And I have found that so helpful. The important thing with this is that you make sure that you are tackling those projects when you say you're going to do. It's so important that you keep the promises that you make to yourself and earn that trust. That being said, it is okay if things slide, and just know that you'll try to get to it on that day the next week. And that can be really helpful depending on what's going on in your life. And this last tip is very optional, but I really have enjoyed having a corner that's kind of mine. Nobody is allowed to come up and put anything in this space, and I don't let myself put random stuff in this space. And I've created just a corner that's a little bit cozy for me, where I like to sit and I'll read my scriptures, and I will write in my journal or read a book, whatever it is that I feel like I need to do to relax at that time. And it's just kind of my space. If everything else in the house is really chaotic, I like to come to this cozy place that I've created for myself. So if you have a corner that you can make that space for yourself, have a reading corner or an art station or whatever it is that makes you happy. I have found that that's really something that brings me a lot of joy and peace. I really hope that some of these tips have helped you. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I will see you next time.